Hi friends, Ellie Granger here. As 360 News continues developing special programming and new community features, we're keeping our focus right here at home on Thomaston, Upson County, and the West Central Georgia communities we all share. One of those growing features is Joan Thomas's A Closer Look, a thoughtful conversation series built around people, stories, faith, service, and the kind of community wisdom that deserves a little more time and attention. Joan's guest this week is a familiar name and loved citizen of Thomaston who shares some great memories of his nearly 90 years in Thomaston. One thing he failed to share is he and his wife Sybil started the first daycare centre for the community, which is celebrating 55 years of operation and still going strong.
Hello again, I'm Joan Thomas. Welcome back to another episode of A Closer Look.
Today we're sitting down with a man whose life stretches across nearly 9 decades of Thomaston history, Mr. Al Uphold. I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Uphold last fall, and I found him to be absolutely delightful. I went to meet him for what I thought might be about 30 minutes, and I think it was 2 hours or so. But after hearing some of his memories and stories, I knew I wanted the rest of Thomaston and beyond to hear at least a small part of his remarkable journey. Mr. Uphold grew up here during a very different time in America. He attended R.E. Lee High School, served his country in the United States Navy aboard a submarine. He worked alongside his father in the clothing business and built a life centered around family, faithfulness, and hard work and community. His story is also connected to one of the most heartbreaking events in Georgia history, the 1946 Winecoff Hotel fire in Atlanta, where his older sister, Patsy Uphold, was among the lives lost. That tragedy left a lasting mark not only on his family, but on Thomaston itself. Today, we're not just talking about history, though. We're talking about memory, resilience, love, loss, and the lessons that remain when a person has truly lived a full life. Mr. Uphold, thank you for being with us today. What was Thomaston like when you were growing up here as a little boy?
The thing I think about most is if you've seen the old video of Thomaston, the street scenes of Thomaston. That's the way it was. People were in town walking the sidewalks. They were shopping. Every place of business was open for business. And the sidewalks were empty today, but they were packed with people then.
Mostly on Saturdays or all the time?
Most of the time, yeah. Most all the time. Because everybody was open all day.
Did things close early on Wednesday back then?
And Wednesday afternoon, nobody was open.
That's what I heard. What kind of things did children do for fun in those days?
We roller skated and rode bicycles. That was about it.
No phones.
And played in the woods.
Do you remember anything you liked in particular to do when you were young?
We were, in the summertime, we always wanted to go swimming out at Perks. It was Perks back then. If we couldn't find a parent or in any of the family to take us out there in the car, we rode a bicycle to Perks. I don't believe you would let a 13-year-old child do that today.
Right. Probably not. What are some of your earliest memories of your family and home life when you were young?
Well, my dad had a place of business, and my mother, not many women worked back then. Everybody had a parent at home generally, but my mother had a business too. And so dad was a dry cleaner, and mother had a millinery shop. She sold hats and costume jewelry and did sewing and just a shop for ladies.
I know you attended R.E. Lee High School.
Right.
What do you remember about R.E. Lee or being in high school?
I remember a lot about it. It was a good time.
I'm sure. What year did you graduate?
55. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Of course, it was an ROTC school, so we were all, everybody had to wear a uniform Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. There wasn't any choice in the matter. If you went to R.E. Lee, you were in ROTC. And I was, a lot of guys were, of our class members were officers. I never received an officer rank in ROTC, but I was a sergeant, and I had a group of probably 20, 25 of the ROTC students, and we marched a precision march. It was, we marched into football games at halftime. And so that was a lot of fun. A lot of people liked that. We had a rifle team. It was just a great time. We were.
Well, as I mentioned, your older sister, Patsy, was one of the young women that was lost in the
Right,
Winecoff
five
fire.
of them.
Right. Before we continue, it's important to remember the historical weight of what became known as the Winecoff Hotel fire in Atlanta in December of 1946. The hotel was filled with high school students and teachers attending a statewide Tri-High-Y conference when a deadly fire broke out during the night. And the tragedy shocked the nation, but for Thomaston, the loss was deeply personal because Mr. Uphold's sister, along with three other girls, was it
Three other girls and a
their
teacher.
were among those who lost their lives. You know, the hotel was billed as absolutely
Absolute
fire-proof.
fiber, yeah.
Now, I know you said that you were young and you didn't remember a lot about it, but as you became older, what did you come to understand about how deeply that event affected Thomaston?
Well, probably the biggest thing was most all of the families. It made a absolutely a religious experience for the church, for the town. There were Bible studies started up all over town. The girls, when they were found in the hotel room, all five of them, they were on the 14th floor, and all five of them were laying on the bed together, crossways on the bed, and they had a Bible opened, Patsy's Bible, and that Bible was open to the 14th chapter of John. And so that's been kind of a pretty special thing for my family and me, of course. Remember this, I was only 9 years old, so it didn't make that, it just didn't strike me as that much because I was so young, you know. But it was, it made, we had Bible studies at my house that the governor came to. I mean, it was one of the famous house in Thomaston, Miss Annie's house. Everybody that's been in Thomaston a long time knows Miss Annie's house. I don't recall who owns it now, but it's a bed and breakfast. Mm-hmm. And she had married one of a missionary that my folks had brought to town, Harry Ironsides. He was I think so it was Annie Ironsides' house. Mm-hmm. Beautiful house in town now. But that was just a meaningful thing for Thomas.
Was it 1996 that Thomaston did a memorial, 50-year memorial? Because I went to it. I just don't remember the year.
I don't recall the year myself. Mm-hmm.
Well, they've continued to remember.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I was walking through R.E. Lee a few months ago, and I saw the memorial on the wall up the girls. And so, of course, I'm glad that nobody has forgotten it and that we still keep those memories of those girls alive.
Well, you will recall the Historical Society. Mm-hmm. You were my sister, Patsy.
Yes. And I was absolutely honored and privileged to play that role. And I did a lot of research on it, and I felt like I, became her for just a few minutes. So I was really happy to do that, and it made me understand so much more. So I appreciate that opportunity from the Historical Society.
You did a good job with it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Well, moving along, as you grew up into a young man, you joined the Navy. Is that correct?
Right.
What
Mm-hmm.
made you join a Navy?
Kind of a funny story there. I was not a very good student in school. School was fun to me, and I played a lot of golf and had a lot of girlfriends, I guess. Mm-hmm. But
no doubt.
The dean at West Georgia, being a 2-year school, asked me what my plans were for further education. And I told him that I didn't know. My mother hadn't told me, which was about the way things were back then. But he said, well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell your parents. you don't need any more formal education. Ooh, I thought that was pretty good. He said, you need 2 years in the Army to settle down. And so I thought about that, and he told my parents that. And my dad, West Georgia College back in 1955 and 56, Dad had to pay $800 a year tuition, which was a lot of money back then. So he didn't need to be paying that anymore for me just to be playing. And so I took him at his word. I said, well, I'll go look at the service. And I looked at the Army, and I said, no, I don't want to do that. And I didn't like the Air Force uniforms, and so I said, well, I go to the Navy. And so I took a battery of tests, and they came running back to me and wanted me to go to Macon to meet some people. And then the Navy just come out with nuclear submarines and nuclear power, and they said I fit the qualification. So that's what I did. I joined up, and loved every minute of it.
How long were you in the Navy?
15 years. I did not retire. My dad wanted me to come out, and I wanted to come out and be with him. I felt like he was getting some age on him. He was very successful in business, and we played golf together, he and I, a lot. And so he wanted me to come out and go in with him, and I did, which was an unusual thing for a chief petty officer to walk out of the Navy 4 years from retirement. So.
Well, did you say you were in a submarine?
Yeah.
What was that like?
People ask that question. It's like just sitting right here. You had a job to do, and you did your job.
But were you aware of being underwater all the time, or was it just?
Well, you didn't ever know. You didn't have any windows or something.
That's what I heard. Yeah, I always thought that would be fascinating. Well, later you went into business making suits with your father. And how did you learn the trade? I've heard you speak about.
Well, Dad taught me, and one of my tailoring house people came down and spent some time with me. And it was just a matter of being able to measure folks. You either can or you can't, like a lot of things. So I did, and I could. So.
And so you traveled around and you took measurements from people, and then you brought the measurements back, and someone else made them.
I was an independent dealer for a tailoring house. They made the clothes. I had 200, 300 different size people suits that I ordered. They made them to whatever I wanted them made to, and they were my responsibility. So
you took the suits to the people, and they tried them on, and you had to deliver the
fitted
suits.
them, and they were. It was a tremendous, great business as far as repeat business was concerned. Everybody I made clothes for, generally, they were fairly well off, and so they could. They didn't want to go shopping. Men don't usually like to go shopping. And
did their wives tell them what they were going to get?
Oh, I loved that. I loved it when a man's wife said she wanted to help because she'd buy more than he would.
Oh, yeah. Well, so you only made men's suits.
Right. Yeah. Well, we had a ladies' line at first when I first started, but it was the ladies' clothes were the same price as the men's, and you ladies have more clothes than most men do, so it was quite expensive for you, and it was very little you could do. You couldn't a jacket, a skirt, a pair of slacks. Not many women wore slacks back then, and so it was just better to stay with men.
When did your father and you go out of business, or is that what you did, or retire?
No. I didn't. My dad passed away in '74, and I, of course, continued the business. His business and mine together. I went on to, I took over Florida, territory in Florida. I didn't have a territory. I could go wherever I wanted to go. I went to Florida because I always thought I wanted to live in Florida. And so I went down there. It didn't take long to figure I didn't want to leave Thomaston. But I'm 2 weeks in Florida, a week in Florida, a week in Georgia, a week in Florida, a week in Georgia. And it was a lot of fun. I played golf, fished for some, and it was just a great, friendly business. And so
you retired from there.
Well, actually, in 2019, when COVID hit, that I had just come back from Florida, and it was time for me to turn around and go right back to up through North Georgia and down to South Georgia. But COVID shut us all down. We had to go into quarantine. Couldn't do anything for a year. And so I said, "What the heck with it?" By that time, men were not go to church. Nobody's wearing a suit of clothes anymore, you know. And so I said, "Well, heck with it. I'll just shut down."
I had no idea you did it that long.
Yeah,
That's great. I
it
didn't
was.
know that.
I mean, it was fun. It wasn't work. It was a lot of fun. It was. I was rewarded for spending time with friends.
Well, that's great. Well, what values did your parents teach you that have stayed with you your whole life?
I think Christian values was probably the main thing. I don't recall when I became a Christian. I think I've just always been one.
Right. Same with me.
And I think that's probably the main thing, and trustworthy and be a likable person. And so that's who they were.
Well, you're certainly that. Well, tell us about your wife, Sybil. Sybil, how did you meet her, and what made you know she was the one?
Sybil's brother. I was 1 month from going into the Navy, and I had come back home. Bluebird had closed down, and for the summer, and I came back home to spend that last month with my mother and dad. And Sybil's brother, I knew Sybil because we were in the same church together, and I knew who she was. Her brother was a good friend of mine, and he was my grade, my age. And anyway, he asked me that day about one Saturday if I would go, if I could get a date, because he had a date, but he couldn't get his family's car, and he needed my car. And so, I wasn't dating anybody. I was getting ready to go in the Navy. He said, "Well, I'll get Sybil to go with you, my little sister. I'll get her to go with you." And I said, "Well, okay." And it wasn't anything meaningful to me either at the time. So, but we had a good time, and I said, "Well, here's somebody I can hang out with for 3 weeks, you know." And we did, and we just kept going. And so here we are 67 years later.
Well, I'd say you did keep going. Yeah. You don't hear too many stories like that. I think that's
you're right there. I think that's a unique story.
Yeah, yeah, true. Especially 67 years. That's phenomenal. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
You have seen nearly a century of change. I know you said you were born in 1937 and you'll be 89 this year.
Mm-hmm.
So what amazes you most about how the world has changed? And it really has, I think.
Well, I don't know that the world has changed that much as I think America has changed, and I don't think it's changed in a good direction. So I'm hoping that can be stabilized a little bit more. But that would be without getting political with it, that'd be getting my.
Yeah. Well, do you miss anything about the earlier times that you mentioned to me before, like when you were young and everybody was in town, or?
Well, today, I don't think people have friends today like my parents had friends. Because we were always at somebody's house eating supper, or somebody was always at our house eating supper or dinner. We had cookouts all the time, and it was just, today I don't think you have that many. Everybody's busy.
So nobody went out to eat then?
No, nobody went out to eat back then. No, I mean we did because Dad and Mother both worked. But my mother was an excellent cook. But we would, we went to the restaurants in town, and Friday and Saturday night, and always had meals out.
So that would have been a treat for.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
because most of the restaurants sold comic books too.
Oh.
So when they got through eating, they talked, and I'd go read comic books.
Oh, I didn't know that. What do you think that the younger generation needs the most today? And there are a lot of younger generations below us. What do you think people need today the most?
Well, there are a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a lot of I think a lot of young people are not using church like they could. I think that's a very important thing that for your families. Uh, I don't know. I guess that to sum it down, that would be probably the best thing.
Well, if you could tell me what has given your life the greatest meaning, if you could put your finger on it.
I think family life. I've got 4 kids, and every one of them's good, and they've all done real well. I think that's a plus for me and for my wife. So that would be my answer to that.
Well, I think a lot of people would agree with that. We probably don't take the time to really understand that as we should. And by the time you do, sometimes it's too late. But
absolutely, yeah. It's hard to turn them back.
Right. If you could leave one lesson behind for your grandchildren or the community and maybe great grandchildren, what would you tell everybody?
Gosh, I don't know. That's such a far-ranging question. I mean,
it doesn't have to be just one thing.
Well, it's I always tell my grandkids. I've always told my kids, and I tell my grandkids this too. One of my dad told me, he said, if you ever know anybody, if I ever talk to you, you're Joan this or Joan that. I always call people by their name because everybody else likes to hear somebody else say their name. And I've always told my kids, if you meet somebody, if Doc is met by one of my kids from now on, you say, Mr. Doc, how you doing? Or always include his name. Or Miss Joan, you doing okay? Or because you love to hear your name so somebody else say it. I mean, you always say, hey, how you? Well, that's very meaningless,
Right.
So, but that would be a lesson I would teach everybody.
Well, that's a great one for me too. I haven't really thought about that.
It's always important for everybody else to know you know them. And you don't think about that yourself, but it works that way.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to tell the listening viewers?
Not really.
Well, I'm surprised. No. Yeah, you made me laugh, all the time that I spent with you back in the fall. And so I can't imagine people not being with you and not being delighted.
Well, I play golf 3 or 4 times a week with about 25, 30 guys. And I think I'm pretty well liked by most of them as well as I like them, So we have good relations. And I think I'm pretty good friends with most everybody I ever meet,
Well, I have to tell you that when I ran into you in town a few months ago and you knew my name, I did pay attention to that. I did notice that. I did remember that
I think
you called me
everybody
by
does,
name. Most of the time we'll be told somebody's name and we think, I forgot what that person's
Yeah,
name is.
that's true. And you do that too, That hurts.
I know, I'm sure it does. Well, I thank you so much for sharing your memories and your heart with us today. And your life reflects not only the history of Thomaston, but the values that helped shape it. And we're really honored that you allowed us to preserve a small part of your story for future generations. And I hope you keep
I've
telling
enjoyed it. Thomaston's been certainly a meaningful place for me in my life. And I think it's a super thing.
I do too. I moved here many years ago, and I thought I would only be here for a few months, and here I am.
Yeah.
But it's because I loved it. I mean, I've enjoyed. I didn't know what a small town was like, and I've really enjoyed the community, and the things that are people who know you and love you. I've really enjoyed that. So, and you're definitely part of the history here. So,
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. For
I don't
coming.
know, being part of history.
Well,
it's a good thing to say, but
well, you really
I
are.
appreciate that.
You really are part of Thomaston history. So we all are at one point or another.
Yeah, sure you are.
So I thank you again very, very much, and God bless you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.